Hi, welcome back. In this video, I'll be talking about my experience hiking the 120-mile GR54 loop trail in the AllTrails National Park in the southeastern part of France. This video has chapters, so you can jump around. Also, if you have any questions, I'm happy to help if I can. I can be contacted on my Instagram at Carrie W. Mercer. The GR54 is a long-distance trekking route that circles France's second largest national park, the AllTrails National Park. The trail is a loop, therefore has many starting points, but a common start and end is Les Bords d'Usson, near the famous cycling mountain of Alpe d'Huez. The 120-mile loop takes about 8 to 12 days for most. This is one of the more challenging treks to do in Europe. It has lots of elevation gain, so best to be in good physical condition with some multi-day hiking experience. I wild camped most nights and cowboy camped one night, but there are several mountain huts and other accommodation options along the route. Wild camping is generally allowed from dusk to dawn. 2 of the nights I set my tent up at a refuge for a small fee. If I remember correctly, I think around 10 euros was the cost. I did most of my food shopping at a grocery store in Les Bords d'Usson and ate a few meals along the way at restaurants and refuges. I found that there are more small grocery stores on the northeastern part of the loop. It is more remote on the western side. There are many drinking fountains in the villages and lots of streams and rivers. It is a good idea to bring a filter to purify just in case. You likely won't need too much cash, but best to bring some euros just in case. The best time to go is from June through September. I hiked September 6th through the 13th and had excellent weather. I didn't find this trail to be that expensive to hike. I mostly wild camped and bought my food at grocery stores. Bring clothes for all weather conditions. It will likely be hot during the day and cold at night with the elevation in the mountains. There are a few forested sections, but many exposed areas, so good to have some sun protection, like this long sleeves shirt with a hood. So how to get to the start? You will likely want to get to Grenoble. I think many people will fly into Lyon or Geneva and take the train over to Grenoble before taking the local bus transportation from Grenoble over to Les Bords d'Usson. In Grenoble, the buses are right next to the train station, so that made it convenient. There is also a hostel called Le Hub that is within walking distance to the trains and buses. I downloaded the offline map on AllTrails and used that for navigating. This is a popular route, so it's well marked, but still best to carry either a paper map or a digital map. I speak very little French, so it's possible to get by with just a little, but obviously the more you know, the better. There are shepherd dogs in these mountains that are raised to protect the sheep. You may encounter some. Best to remain calm and continue walking, but use your best judgment if you happen to be around them. Usually the shepherd isn't too far away. Okay, now I'm going to use AllTrails to go over some specifics about my hike here in the GR54. So the GR54 is in the southeastern part of France, close to Lyon, Geneva, between Montpellier, Marseille, Grenoble. So I took off from Grenoble, took the local bus here to the start and the end. This is where I rented an Airbnb that night, or that day, bought some groceries the day before, and then set out. This is a very nice foothill mountainous town of France. And so I started doing it clockwise. So I headed out this way on the roads. You're walking on a road here. AllTrails shows it going up the mountains here. I don't believe that's the way to go. I followed the markings and asked some locals, and this is the trail right here. Kind of cuts across some of the mountain, the road that leads up to the famous Alpe d'Huez. So this is you'll see lots of cyclists heading up the mountains here. But I followed this trail here, across, over, and then I think I got some more water here at a fountain, and then keep going, I think, on this road down the road. Of course, the cyclists are going to keep going up this way. But being a hiker, I walked this way. I think I'll covered this area and caught the AllTrails trail, I guess, if you will, right here, and followed it up. Let me back out just a touch. So you're going to go up. You have some elevation gain that first day. Then you get to a point somewhere along here where it starts going downhill. I think some of the nicest part of that day was walking, I think, right through here. This section was forested, and you're walking along a river, so this section was pretty nice. But eventually you get to a point where you start walking on the road. So really right around here somewhere, you get to a road, and then from there you're just walking, well, yeah, like I said, on a road until you reach this point right here, and this is where I stopped that first day. So it wasn't a real long day. I stopped at this Col de Serenay. So there's some people parked. I think there's a toilet, that sort of thing there. I stopped here because you have some nice, if I can get it looking right here, you have some nice views looking back towards these mountains here. So that was a nice spot to stop. Let me back out and readjust here. So that first day was from here to right around here, day one. And I cowboy camped right on this spot, right in here, right there. Second day was elevation dropping here down. You pass through some nice mountain villages, and then you start climbing up. Again, passing through some really neat French mountain villages up in the mountains. And I think I saw several people maybe camping in this area. Keep going up. This is kind of the big elevation gain for the morning, up to this point right here. And from there, you have kind of a nice, of course, again, you have the views of this mountainous range for most of that day, really. So you're kind of covering some flat here, some sheep herders in this area. As you can tell, it just goes flat and then down. You have refuge in this area, some restaurants, that sort of thing. I kept going along here, and so I never stopped here for any sort of camping or restaurants, but I kept going, and that second day I camped in my tent right in this area right here. There's some camping. I remember this section being pretty nice. And the start of that third day, let me reorientate. Started with a little bit of a climb up, so you have some elevation gain. I really liked this day in this area. This was perhaps one of my favorite parts of the loop. Get some nice views looking this way and seeing all these different glaciers. So this was, yeah, a really nice part of the trail, and it wasn't real steep, so it's kind of a nice gradual uphill. There are other little paths you can take to check out these lakes, pools, glacial pools. So that could have been an option, because I didn't quite get any. I could have gone up there and shot some clips of this right here, but instead decided to keep going down that day. So you pass through. Eventually, you start walking along the glacial sort of river, which is nice. So I remember this section being pretty nice. And then you arrive to a lake right here. Some really cool colored water. So several, I think, people coming up as day hikers and stopping at this lake and getting some sun rays, that kind of thing, by the lake. Kept going down. Just remember this being a pretty nice area, and then opens up and you drop into the valley. Kept going past this village, and then I started getting hungry here, and decided to get my first sort of meal at a restaurant in this town. Also, this town had some grocery stores, that sort of thing, so I resupplied and bought some groceries here. And then that afternoon, on the third day, continued to go up. So I had some elevation gain. I really enjoyed the forested areas up through here. Let's back out a touch. So yeah, I remember I enjoyed the climb up. Nice weather that afternoon, clear. Then you get up to kind of some ski areas. I thought perhaps there might be some water. Looking at AllTrails, like, oh, maybe there's some water I can get. Don't remember there being too many places for water. Some like rivers and streams through here, but I think that it kind of, as you start going up here, there aren't as many water sources up top. So I remember being pretty thirsty, not being able to get here. This is all fenced off. This is some sort of reservoir or something. So continued walking and resupplied with some, refilled my water right in here with not the best quality water, but I needed to drink that night. So I had a filter, so I filtered some water there and slept up on, I think, right here. That was my tent camping site, out looking out that way. So it's a pretty nice spot to camp. And then continued down that next morning, down this. So some kind of a steeper drop down in to the valley to right here. That sort of later morning, early afternoon, midday, had lunch in this village, this town. Then continued along. This ended up being, I want to say, maybe a dirt road for vehicles through here, following near the river, and then it opens up to where you start walking on a paved road. So this was one of my least favorite parts of the trail, right through here. It was pretty warm that afternoon. Walking on a paved road wasn't any fun. I stopped that afternoon, must have been mid-afternoon, and had a snack right here. So there's a spot to buy some things, and then up you go, up the mountains, and then I camped in my tent right here. There's a spot. Several people were either sleeping in tents, or there is a spot to sleep in this building. That night I actually didn't get good sleep. I think I had some food poisoning or something, so I didn't really get much sleep that night. And so the next morning was a bit rough, because really you have lots of elevation gain the next day. You go up here, keep going up, as you can tell, lots of elevation gain. And yeah, this was pretty rough going up here. I was moving pretty slow. So this is more one of the steeper sections of the loop, and you kind of drop in, going down, and as you can see here, got a kind of a real steep section down. So I arrived to this refuge that early afternoon. If I had been feeling better, I would have continued, but I decided to camp at this refuge. And yeah, I like this spot. This was a good spot. You could of course sleep inside. A lot of people were tent camping also. I had dinner here, so that was definitely a good spot to stop. Next day, kind of getting lost in the days here, but this was going to be a day, and actually just to back out just a touch here, this section from about really this sort of like western section, this whole area is, in my opinion, one of the nicer parts of the loop also, so I really enjoyed this area. But back to that day though, walked up to the top right here, then you kind of drop down and then up again. Same thing, you kind of, it's actually a couple times. You get to the top, drop down and up, and then drop down and up, and then walking down to this refuge by a lake. Let me show you here. Some sheep in this area. Yeah, I like this area. I was feeling better that next day too. So this is a cool spot. Good food, plenty of areas to camp or sleep in the refuge. So that was a nice spot there. And then continued down that day. Enjoyed this descent. And back out a touch. So this next day, not this next day, it was still that afternoon, excuse me. So my plan was to get to this refuge that night, but because I was sick, it kind of put me a bit behind. So I arrived here early afternoon and decided to hitchhike. So there's a road that runs through here. So I cut off maybe 4 or 5 miles of the trail so that I could get here and then go up to here still. So this was pretty steep that afternoon. I arrived here. It was really cool that a mom and a son picked me up, and they dropped me off right here, and I was able to continue up and arrive before dark. So I camped that night. That's not the last night, but I think the second to last night I camped in this refuge right here. It's not showing the name, but this is a nice spot to stay. You have some pretty nice views looking out across the valley there. And I remember this being a pretty challenging morning. This was probably the most challenging day. Lots of elevation up, and then you drop down again, far down again, and then it's immediately right back up again. Lots of elevation gain again, right up again, and then dropping down again. And some people will camp here, so this is an area you can camp. I kept going up that day, and I think I camped right around here. Let me see if I can get back out a touch. So that day was tough. It was basically up and down, up and down and up, while being still pretty weak from the food poisoning. So I stopped there, camped there, and so in the morning I took off pretty early. This was the last day for me. This section is very steep. I'll see if I can show you here. So it's a bit daunting, if you can tell from AllTrails. So I took off that morning, and just tons of switchbacks, because again, as you can see, it's very steep. Maybe the steepest section. It's definitely the steepest section on the loop. Started raining here at the top. Light rain, nothing too bad. So that morning I walked up. Was happy to get up over that. Walked through here, down, a little bit of rain. Arrived to this lake. This lake, lots of camping right in this area. So it's possible to camp here at the lake. There's also a refuge right here. So many people will, if they're doing it, say anti-clockwise, they'll probably stop here the first night. But I kept going that morning up my last bit of elevation gain, and then it's really just dropping pretty steep down to this other lake. dropping down again, and then from here, really, it's pretty easy walking. Certainly in this section, it's gradually downhill to flat, back to the start in the village. So I collected my things that I had left at the Airbnb, walked to the bus station, and then from the bus station, I think I caught the bus late afternoon and took the bus back through the mountains back to Grenoble. And then from there stayed in a hostel called Le Hub for the night, and then continued my travels, taking the train from Grenoble to Marseille. But that is the GR54. So thank you for watching, guys. If you've reached this point, thank you. It's a long video, so I appreciate it. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys. Bye.